first goal of the match. Leads it to Ramsey to make it 3-0.
Qualified na sila for AFC Champions League. We've been playing together since maybe 4 years, 5 years ago.
We didn't have an official game so long, so especially ADT was really fresh.
There's the opener. Kaya FC draw first blood. Magandang gabi Pilipinas and welcome to the PFF National Training Center in Carmona, Cavite. Ito po ang Copa Paulino Alcantara Final. 5 teams going all out in a very short tournament, and here we have the final coming right up. Ako po si Paulo Del Rosario, kasama ko ngayon si Darren Hartman, and I can guarantee po nagtatagalog rin po siya. But looking forward at this matchup in particular, Darren, sinasabi nga natin that ADT is the future of Philippine football, and up against them right now are probably one of the 2 giants of Philippine football, with Kaya FC-Iloilo standing in front of them. Last time they met, 2-0 in favor para sa Kaya, but if you're ADT, you'll like your chances tonight.
Well, ADT are going into this with the confidence of having taken a really hard-fought win against Stallions, and of course Kaya coming into this game with knowing that they are the team to beat. It's a really exciting match that we have here. 22 fantastic players on the pitch. ADT against Kaya. It's the final. This is what football's all about.
There is the trophy up for grabs. Both Kaya and ADT eager to get their hands on it. It is a beautiful night here in Carmona, Cavite. Nakita nga natin, parang full mood nga yata eh. Very romantic, and what a romantic setting we have here today for what is set to be the highlight of this matchup, this tournament. Tingnan natin kung anong nangyari in their first meeting, the very first game of the tournament actually. Kaya FC Iloilo getting one over ADT, courtesy of goals from Daizo and Rota.
Well, ADT continued their history of not conceding in the first half and managed to hold Kaya at 0-0. But then in the second half, Kaya really just managed to pile on the pressure, managed to find a little bit of quality. And then with moments like this, where the experience combined with the passion managed to get them through in the first game of the group.
Well, Darren, nakita natin in this game in particular, it felt like these teams were a bit rusty, and I think understandable because of months and for some players a year without any regular football. But then as the game went on, it felt like Kaya got into a groove first, and I think that paid dividends towards the end.
Yeah, I think this really was a glimpse of what was going to happen in this cup competition. After this game, just barring it got better and better and better until we build ourselves to this incredible final. We saw ADT battle through against a very resilient Stallions. It was that goal there from Placito to break the deadlock. And then, of course, ADT matching them in the air with Harvey Gioso scoring the first to bring it level. And then we went into extra time, Paolo. It was an incredible game.
Tama ka dyan. Si Eric Gallante scored the last goal. We'll see that in just a bit. But first of all, what a great defensive effort there para kay Camerad. And the 2 teams now come into the pitch. ADT in white, Kaya not in their usual signature yellow, but this time in all black. Parang naka-business suit eh. It's business as usual for them, trying to get the job done against the most eager group in this tournament. Of course, the 2 teams there. Right now, the referees paying tribute to those that Philippine football have lost recently. Of course, there is Richie and Rhea Baldifiso, two Philippine Football Federation referees who passed away tragically in a car accident yesterday. And of course, in recent days, Sir Freddy Nene Lazarito, ex-under-23 national team coach, also passed away. And of course, he's a Lasallian legend for USLS in Bacolod. Of course, also Mr. Henry Can, former PFF president. So many names, so many souls that we wish were here to be able to celebrate this night of football with us here today, but unfortunately unable to do so. Today, though, I believe, and I think most of us will all agree, that they have the best seats in the house, watching up from the heavens, watching our ADT and Kaya tussle to figure out which team is the best in the Philippines in this calendar year. Take a look at the match officials there. Clifford Daipuyat, Merlo Albano, Paul Galicia, and Steve Supresencia will be our officials here today. Take a look at ADT. So mapapansin yung lahat, wala si Harvey Gayoso, injured po siya, hamstring injury. I don't know if you caught that a while ago, Darren, but then we saw the team actually carry Harvey's jersey onto the pitch. He was the team captain. He was the leader. They're going to miss him a lot in this matchup.
Yeah, and we've spoken to players as well from ADT, and they say that he's a leader both on and off the pitch. And talking about leaders both on and off the pitch, Kaya FC have got that experience. You've got Mitchell, Rota, very hard to beat, have not yet been beaten in this competition, of course. And you've got Masa Omora sat just in front of them. Few changes in that squad to when they first met. We can have a little talk about that, because Melissa, Armita, Arboleda and Banzon all find themselves on the bench, and of course giving them the option of that youth and that energy to come on should the game need it.
Grabe yung experience level ng Kaya. Actually, if you add up all of the ages of their backline, this is not a joke. They might be over 100 years old kung inad mo silang lahat. But then, they don't play like it. Definitely not. They're still as athletic. They still have that experience. And it will be tested against this ADT team that, honestly, kung napanood nyo sila dati, napapagod kayo. Kasi grabe, the energy level that they have pushing forward will really test this Kaya team. And here we go. Kickoff between ADT and Kaya. ADT playing from left to right of your screens. Kaya going the opposite direction. So, napansin natin, Darren, in their first matchup, yung ADT, medyo focused yung attack nila sa left side. And eventually, it became more varied. But then, now with a few games under their belt, do you feel that this ADT team now has a bit more up their sleeves compared to their first meeting against Kaya?
Well, para sa mga fans that were watching in the first game, you could see that ADT were playing with 4 at the back. Pero nag-switch sila. Now it's 3. That means that they have that extra width going forwards, but they just need to make sure that they can find both sides of the field. We all know that Galientas has been in fantastic form, and we just really need to get Oliver Bias on this right-hand side, getting on the ball a little bit more confident.
Long ball forward there, goes straight to Casas. Casas did not play against ADT in their first matchup. They elected to go with their younger keeper, Zach Banzon, who did a good job all in all against ADT. Pero si Casas, iba talaga yung experience niya. He's been there, he's seen it all. He's played in the highest levels of international competition dito for the Philippines and representing Philippine clubs. So it's great to have him back here, and arguably the biggest match of ADT in the domestic season.
Yeah, well, Michael Casas is actually my batchmate, born 86.
Oh, you had to drop the age, didn't you?
Yeah, 86, so he's 35. But for me, the thing is about people who were, in and around football at our age, there wasn't really a lot of opportunity in the local leagues. And he actually went into like a semi-retirement, focused on his family. And then when he come back, just incredible how he picked off his career. And then he just went on. And of course, now has represented Kaya for the Philippines at the top level in the AFC Champions League. What a build-up play. This is from ADT. Just couldn't link up on that left-hand side, which we said they had already managed to work out their timing.
Eric Gallantes and Sandro Reyes were key in that particular build-up. Napansin nga natin si Sandro Reyes. If you've been following this tournament, Sandro Reyes has been one of the players to watch here for this ADT team. He came in as a substitute in that first game, but since then has been impressing people with his vision. He played a bit deeper last time around, actually earlier part of the tournament. Pero dito, playing in the number 10 role, should be interesting to see what he can come up with creatively. Ito na naman si Gallantes. Now Sandro Reyes on the ball, giving it back as ADT, patient in their build-up here.
Yeah, Sandro kailangan mag-adjust lang konti, because the way that he played was fantastic against Minjola. A lot of the goals were coming through him. So he was a marked man against Stallions, and he didn't adjust quite quick enough. And I'm sure now he's had time to watch the tapes back, have a little bit of an assessment of how he plays, because that's how academy players that come through, you know, the Scholar program in Barcelona will be. They will be critical. They will have the ability to assess and come back and adapt. And I'm sure Sandro would do just that today.
Kaya finally on the ball, but Bedic na foul sa gitna. And this Kaya team, very patient in the way they're approaching this game as well. Hindi sila nagpo-press ng masyadong mataas. They're waiting for ADT to make a mistake, and they got the ball straight off that. There's a foul there on Bedic. Let's take a look at Bias, who has played in almost every position at the senior level. He's literally played up front at the wing, and now is operating as a wing back. Alam naman natin, if you're an Azkals fan, the wing back position under the system of Coach Scott Cooper is probably the most demanding one, considering the amount of work that you have to do. And here he is basically trying that out here at the ADT level.
Yes, Dama, it's the most demanding, but apart from that, it's also the most rewarding. If you can get the ball nice and high and nice and wide, you have actually less work to do. But it's all about the transition, the passing, understanding about what the team wants to do, and it's about keeping up with the passes and the flow of the game so you can drift at the right time.
Skari Kekkonen keeping that away from Bedic. Ardiano now, operating on the right side. And Kaya unable to keep the ball there. Owano unable to turn. Carlisle Mitchell there to make sure that they retain possession here.
And that's one of the tactical things that I picked up on, is the fact that without Harvey Gioso there, will it be Dennis Chong showing feet or will it be Wano? It kind of showed right there that it's going to be Wano, which means Dennis is the player that will be making the runs in behind. That's a big loss for ADT. I mean, Harvey was excellent at adjusting to the way that Dennis Chong was moving, and I hope that we don't lose that today.
Of course, Harvey Gayoso out with a hamstring injury, and time will tell when he'll be able to come back. And almost a chance here. Carlisle Mitchell, it's a sprint race here. Owano wins it, but then Mitchell there to make sure that his body is in the way of that heavy touch.
Yeah, and Wano needs to keep that as a sprint race. You can't make that a physical battle, because if that becomes a physical battle, Mitchell wins that 10 times out of 10.
Well, see, Owano, he knew he had that speed advantage over Mitchell. Siguro na-excite masyado. And this time, Kaya playing long, trying to find inroads on the right side, but good defending there, using his body to combat Eric Gallantes. And then see Gallantes, he came into the Azkals setup, the Azkals development team setup, as a left winger, a left attacking winger, now operating as a left wing back. And he's built up physically, kasi dati parang lit niya eh. And now he's grown, he's gotten that muscle up, and it feels like it's only a matter of time before we see him really adapting properly to that left wing back position, to where he should be more physical.
Yeah, he's born 2001, which makes him, 19, 20 years old, which is still relatively young in terms of being a defender breaking onto the scene. But yeah, you're right. I really like to think that he could be the player to take on from Sato. I mean, when Sato was playing for the national team, we had some of our really, really good games. And of course, you've got players like Jerry Lucena and people like that who have played left back. But Gallantes is really owning that left-hand side. And I'm sure that he knows that there's an opportunity to break through into the senior level. And that is why every single game for an ADT player, you're in the shop window and you're trying to impress.
Well, right now, early on in the game, 7 minutes in, it's been ADT predominantly with the possession. We've been talking about them a lot because Kaya haven't really offered much pressure, really, trying to get back possession from this ADT team.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned, the age of Kaya's team, because, I mean, a lot of them are my friends, and I was never going to mention that. But it's just one of those things where if Kaya do stay deep, it's going to be very hard for ADT to break them down. And of course, Kaya know that they can, wear ADT down a bit just by keeping them in front of them, and then just look here to get the ball on the counter and then maybe try to move through them quickly.
Well, nakita natin ulit na Bias trying to find the run in the hole of Sandro Reyes, unable to find him. So it'll be very interesting to see kung sa magagaling creation ng ADT. Again, no Harvey Gayoso to mess up really the midfield and the defensive formations of their opponents, which he's done very well throughout the tournament. So we're going to see something new here from ADT that we haven't seen as much as we'd like so far.
Yeah, it's going to be about adjustment for ADT in that final third. There were a couple of days in between the games, of course, where they were or would have been able to make tactical adjustments and work on passages of play. Whereas for Kaya, I think that they come into this with less changes.
Bedic saw an opportunity, but way too long for Camara to be worried. But it feels like there's going to be a chance like that for Kaya. As soon as ADT make a mistake, they're there to punish them.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about Kaya is you've got both Kenshiro Daniels playing at the same time as Marwin Angeles, and they have a really good range of passing. And whereas ADT have Sandro just drifting in behind the forwards and two forwards, Kaya are the opposite. They have one target man and they have two creative players in behind. So Kalangan Lung give the ball into Kenshiro and then give the ball into Angeles just so they can face forwards when they get in transition. If they can do that right, Kaya will be very difficult to stop.
Pressure comes from the middle, but then easily dealt with. ADT just relieving that a bit here. It's interesting kasi yung forward thrust of these two teams are very different. Pero the way that they're lined up at the back is relatively similar. 3 at the back with 2 wing backs that could slot in para maging a 5-man defensive formation. So let's see which one is more creative attacking, really, because they are dealing with similar defensive formations on both ends.
Yeah, I think the defensive formation is quite similar. I feel that when ADT have the ball, the swing of their low rotation is slightly wider. So Matthew Custodio gets a lot wider than Menzi, for example. But apart from that, it's two quite similar styles apart from when it comes into the final third.
Again, Kaya allowing ADT to play at the back, challenging them, and then as soon as they cross that halfway point, there they are. They win back possession. Now on the attack, trying to find Daizo on the right side, but the pass just well too behind.
Yeah, and Daizo's been one of the best players in this cup competition for me. He's been dangerous every time he's near the ball, not just on the ball. His running, his movement, really, really good. And then he's always able to find that extra bit of quality.
Kaya trying to hold possession again. Well, dito in the first 10 minutes, nakita natin that Kaya are very comfortable in dealing with the pressure that ADT have applied on them. Now, a chance here for Kaya to ask the same questions of the ADT backline.
Yeah, it's one of those games which at the moment it's good. Both teams are looking to play at a good tempo, but there haven't really been any real chances yet. And I think ADT will have to work something very special to pull apart this defensive setup of Kaya. You can even see De Bruyker is very, very deep when Kaya have the ball. They're getting in nice and early, making it very hard.
Again, there's so much passing between the center backs, all 3 center backs of ADT, as they just try to swing it from one side of the pitch to the other, trying to figure out which are the better openings. But it feels like every time they cross that halfway point, yung half line na yan, nandyan yung Kaya, ready to spring into attack. It's like they are a spring, coiled back and then suddenly pushing forward once they get it past the halfway point.
Yeah, they're just going to have to be a little bit more comfortable, ADT, at getting the ball into their centre mids and trying to play from a little bit higher up the pitch, try to work the ball in and out, in and out, in and out, because all the time they're just swinging. Kaya are so comfortable at just, following the ball. And then, of course, as you said, as soon as it's played forwards, they're just stepping onto it so quickly. And Shempre, they have the physical presence, they have the age, they have the experience. So ADT, as I said, have really got to work hard and dig deep tactically.
Now, we just saw Kaya do the exact same thing ADT did, but then, if you notice, mas mabagal yung progression nila moving forward in the pitch, and losing in the final third. Reyes plays it back, Gallantes. Now back to Custodio, still looking for options here. Look how tight and compact this Kaya team is. grabe yung disiplina nila eh. As soon as they lose the ball, everyone knows their responsibilities off the ball and ready to defend.
Well, if you're not disciplined at the level that Kaya play at, the results will most certainly not go your way.
Strong push from behind. And then his Chung is, well, he can pop out anywhere really. Able to score goals in opportune moments. Nakita natin yan sa SEA Games last time around. Let's see whether or not he could be a decisive factor in this game against Kaya. Olivias, back to Diano. Diano did not start the last game. Did not start the last game of Kaya, against Kaya rather.
I think he was nursing a little bit of a hamstring injury in the first game.
Kekkonen. Again, now where will the forward thrust of ADT come from? Diano, fouled by Kenshiro Daniels. Kenny Daniels saying that was just really momentum.
And you were talking about players who were filled out. Also, Kenshiro Daniels, since he come over to the Philippines and started playing here, is filled out. And I think the referee's just saying that he's extended his arm a little bit there. But if he keeps his arm in, he's won that fairly. I think he just wanted to flex his new tattoo off. I think that's what that was about.
Oh, Kenny Daniels, he is able to find goals with regularity as well. So he isn't necessarily the biggest goal threat of Kaya, but definitely one of them for sure. Gallantes swinging that in straight to the gloves of Casas. Again, this Kaya team went through a baptism through fire in the AFC Champions League earlier in the year. And if you're a Casas, you're looking at chances like that, you're clearing that up easily. Ito na naman yung Kaya on the right side. Hirokoshi finding Bedik. Ooh, good interplay. Back to the right side. Angeles now. Swinging that in, trying to find a friendly head, but then ADT muscles that away. Well, very robust defending para sa ADT. They may be young, but they're sure not any pushovers. In fact, it's Kenshiro Daniels who felt that he absorbed a lot of the punishment there. Tignan natin to. And yeah, just really brushed away there by Sandro Reyes, if I'm not mistaken.
I think could have been Rontini.
Yep.
But for me, I mean, they had to defend that way because that combination play then from Kaya was exactly what they missed when they played against Cebu. Cebu made a game of it, but Kaya have just got to play at the level they know they can play. That diagonal pass out to the right-hand side was to a T. It was perfect. And then, of course, Kaya had the forward thinking. They got players into the box. They combined quickly and managed to get a good cross in. That is what Kaya need to do. And if they do that against ADT enough, they will create chances and they will most certainly test the experience and the age of those ADT centre-backs.
Kekkonen trying to find the run of Chung, but Menzi there to clear it out. Ryo Fuji now moving it to the middle. And take a look at this. The veterans of Kaya really controlling the pressure, really riding out the pressure. We saw it there. We saw Masa Omura. We saw Simone Rota. But unfortunately, now when they shifted it to the left, giving it straight back to ADT, and they could not find the run of Owano.
Yeah, well, we just saw two passages of play there. I mean, Massa probably should have put it in front of Simone Rota, but then in that particular moment when ADT got the ball and Diano played it forward, that's what I was talking about. You had Dennis Chong running and you also had Ivan running. And that's not what you want. You had both players running when you need to have someone really assert themselves for showing and getting their feet on the ball, get Sandro Reyes on that ball, and then two players look from it from Sandro. That's what was working when Harvey Gioso was playing, and that's why Harvey has got around 6 goals just from playing that way.
Well, take a look at the possession stats here. Kaya have grown into this game and have started controlling the ball here. But then you can have all the possession in the world. If you don't do anything with it, walang mangyayari. Mitchell. Such a calm presence at the back. He's like a tower that needs to be scaled if you want to score a goal.
Yes, and what I like, that's Kai have given the ball away. Sandro just restarting.
What easy play there coming from Sandro Reyes. I was checking it on your screen just a moment ago. And so far, both keepers not really tested. Now approaching the 18th minute mark of this matchup. And then the battle has been, right now it feels like it'll be won and lost in the midfield. Who would be the more creative one? Casas there to clean that up, but thrown away back to ADT.
And I think that's the difference between, the teams that are playing football at this level and the teams that are almost playing football at this level. When ADT rotate, when Kaya rotate, they're looking to find midfielders. Whereas other teams that aren't quite at this level yet, they're rotating, they get impatient, and then they just play long. So you hear into a centre mid all the time, head up, looking for centre mids, looking to be creative. And then when it's on, decent pass out to Galliantes.
Galliantes could not retain possession, but the whistle's blown. Para sa Kaya, they're saying that maybe advantage could have been played, but the referee already had blown the whistle. Mitchell. He has been that fulcrum at the back, that pivot, in which really they decide which area of the field to play from. De Broica still keeping possession, riding the tackle. Rota, the veteran. Playing it forward, Bedic trying to maintain the possession there. It's just back and forth, and just a little bit forward each time. But on that occasion, binilik nila sa ADT. Galliantes trying to use his speed to maintain that. Pero ito na naman ang Kaya. More pressure building up against ADT. Owano could not win out. Now trying to get the better of Mitchell there. But it's Simone Rota who ends up with the ball, playing it forward, but straight to Camarad.
Well, there's not much in between these two teams. I mean, the tempo is getting there. It's quite high. We're 20 minutes in. I mean, I've said it a few times. It's so difficult to call these games in terms of who's going to be the winner. So if you're watching at home and you think you know what the score's going to be, leave a little comment and then let us know. We have a little check at half-time and see who's going to be right.
Nako-comment din si Darren eh. Like, he's on his phone from time to time checking. So I'm sigurado nako-comment din siya eh. So for those Darren Hartman fans out there, you can check that out. Oli Bias, great move cutting inside, but then just behind Owano. Now more pressure from ADT, but the composure of Kaya wins out. Bedic could not control that chance to go on the counter.
Yeah, that was a shame then from Oliver Bias. Just kulang sa quality, just when he needed it. Final pass. It's just the final thing that was missing there.
Custodio, back to Galliantes. Now Diano. Again, this Kaya team allowing ADT with possession, letting the center backs just swing it amongst themselves. Ayun na, passing the halfway point, suddenly the spaces disappear. And Kaya there to make it difficult for ADT to get anything. And as soon as the first pass was made, nandiyan na yung mga black shirts. Where will the spark of creativity come from? Great feat from Sandro Reyes, unable to keep that in though.
Yeah, Sandro did really well to beat the line the first time, but just like there's an invisible line in front of us here, and every time the ball goes past that line, the press from Kaya is just at 100 miles an hour. And Rontini there showing his former days, playing in the centre mid, just getting the ball forwards, he's comfortable. But I think suits Rontini at the back. He looks really good, he's good, strong in the air.
Now remember, some of these players, especially for those who played in the collegiate level dito sa Pilipinas, are not playing the positions that they played in before. Again, you look at Custodio at the back for ADT. Was not a center back then. but then has adapted to it very well. His physicality doing a great job for ADT, and I'm sure a lot of Philippine football fans would remember the experience of watching Gayoso work as a left wing back and a left winger.
Yeah, well, ADT is there to develop future talents, and I think they're doing just that. And I mean, that's a lesson to learn, really, for football coaches out there. Don't be too quick to profile a player into a position, because some of it will come down to genetics. And of course, there are certain positions where you need to be quicker, you need to be taller, or it's an advantage to be taller. You don't necessarily need to be tall. And of course, that changes when players get older.
Oh, quick feet there from Rio Fuji as Kaya back on the ball here after a brief pause in play, but then unable to find Kenshiro Daniels. A pass just a bit too wayward. So see, Fuji in their first game actually played more of a winger, and now playing in the middle, you see the intent of having more energy in the middle of the park para sa Kaya.
Yeah, I think Fuji has been playing well, but of course on the right-hand side, Kaya really do have an outstanding right winger, and they're much, much better when Daiso is out on the right. But Fuji is good in the middle. I mean, I love the way he's switching the ball around. He's comfortable, and of course, he has a good understanding with Omura in the middle. They're looking good. They've got so many creative players out there, Kaya. They just need to, you know, be more comfortable and getting the ball and playing in and amongst the ADT players. Easier said than done, because ADT are young and they want to run.
And foul there against Kaya. Well, nakita nga natin, Darren, that this ADT team has struggled in the final third on the attacking end moving forward. We saw a while ago, as we take a look at this foul there by Gallantes, just getting a bit too close there to the Kaya player. And on the other side, this Kaya team also struggling getting that final pass and that decisive pass to really find ways to test Camarade.
Well, I think Philippine football in general has really taken huge step forwards in terms of the quality of the games that we're seeing. We have to remember that there hasn't been competitive football for a year. The quality of the game is fantastic, but as the defenders get better, it gets harder and harder to score. So now we're in that sort of phase where teams are trying to work out what they need to do in this high rotation just to link up, create overloads like ADT might do.
And they're appealing for a penalty, not getting it. Bias with a chance, but nothing again. Kekkonen back to Bias. ADT fans and ADT players all feeling that they missed an opportunity there, that there was a missed penalty call. Let's see if they do have a case. Take a look at this. So quick passes, quick movement inside. Reyes trying to feed Chung. And at least from that particular angle, it looks like the referee may have gotten that right, or maybe it was just too close for a whistle to be blown there.
I think the referee had a good view of that. I think the only problem may have been that, you know, maybe he didn't have the ball under full control, and it's also the way that he's gone down. But it looked as if there could have been contact. I mean, you've got to be brave to be a referee to give that sort of penalty.
In a final.
In a final. But for me, if there's contact, it's a penalty. So, and he looked as if he was waiting for an advantage. So, really, really difficult, because then ADT took the shot. Really, that's going to be a talking point. Most certainly going to be a talking point.
Well, let's see whether or not that will inject more energy to this ADT team, at least moving forward. And for those wondering, wala pong VAR dito. So for those who hate it, you're welcome. For those who wanted it at that occasion, we're very sorry. Kaya now trying to apply pressure of their own. Kenshiro Daniels getting tangled up there. And that will be a free kick for the Black Shirts.